In this video, I'm going to show you how to go from a table of value that you showed on the left side of your screen on Excel to a graph format that actually shows the relationship between one variable and the other variable. You'll be able to determine various lines on the graph and also how to structure your graph in such a way that people can actually understand what is going on and what are the things to look out for and how to analyze various things based on the numbers. That, for example, this number right here, this number right here, and also finally this number right here. So let's dive into this on Excel. Step 1. Input table of values. In here, when you're given a data and you're asked to put them on Excel, all you have to do is just pick a cell and you work from left to right, up, down. And so we start off by putting our title for our x-axis. In this case, this is represented as time measured in seconds, and we are going to type tab to move to the next cell to the right, and this is going to represent our y-axis title, which is position, and this is measured in meters. Now we can hit enter to move down and type in our results that are recorded. So at 0 seconds we have 10 meters to be recorded. Hit enter. 2 seconds later we have our position to be at 13 meters, 21 meters. So these are the filling in of our table of values that shows the relationship between the time and the position. And we're going to move on to the next step. Our next step is to transform this table of values to a graph, and the graph can be done through using our specific insert function. And once you click on insert function, remember that we have to highlight all the data that you recorded, not only the numbers but also the titles that are right here. And so once you highlight everything, this is important so that this particular software Excel will be able to calibrate them and create our result. And so once you move along this particular drop down for insert, we see a couple of overwhelming graphics, and I would suggest you look at charts because that is important in terms of producing various graphs analysis for your data that you recorded. And so you can also click on recommended charts. Once you click on recommended charts, you can actually see some interesting results that might be important, like for example clustered column, we can have clustered bar, you can have pie, you can have scattered, you can have just a line graph, and many more. I would highly suggest you go with the scattered because by that way you not only have the points that are shown, but also you can have the line that connects from one point to the next and so on. So this is really fantastic in terms of not only what it looks like but what the specific title represents or this graph represents, as you see below right here. And so once you click on this and click OK, voila, this is the result of our graph. As you observe here, this graph is incomplete because there are a couple of things missing. Although we do have the title for our graph, we don't have any titles for our Y and for our X. Also, we don't really have a result for this particular pattern in terms of the outcome. These are really important things to keep in mind in terms of presenting your graph analysis based off of your table of values. Other things that are actually provided include a couple of ways by which you can present your original graph. Like for example, you can make it dark but then highlighted in terms of the specific line. You can also have other parts, like for example dotted lines. We can actually have just all these colors. So these are variations of things to play around with, but I'm just going to stick with the original version, which is what we have right over here. Now the next part is to be able to fill in and complete this. To complete this, all we have to do is click on the main graph, and this will bring our specific drop down on the right side that shows you a couple of things to add. Like for example, chart element. Once you click on the plus sign, we have a couple of things to include, like for example axis. This is check. If you uncheck it, this is what happens. We don't have any numbers at all on the y and x axis as shown right here and right over here, so that is really important. Next is axis titles. This, when you hover around it, you actually see that yes, we have our x and y titles needed. So we need this in order for we to really explain what is going on in terms of relationships. Another one here is chart title, and for chart title we can see that if I unclick this, the title disappears. So we need a chart title because we need that to be describing what people are going to be looking at in the chart. Another one here is data labels. This is not really clear because it just shows you single numbers for each point. If I click on it, you're going to see just single numbers right here. How are we going to clarify what these numbers mean? Are they for the x? Are they for the y? I would suggest that it is indeed for the y values, but if you want to have it in coordinate form, all you have to do is actually look for the one that gives you the coordinate form, and this here is the one that is really important, and so that is really great to have. Error bars, this can be used, but we're not going to use this for this particular graph. Another one here is grading lines, and the grading lines, when you click on this to the right, we actually have a couple of primary, major, horizontal, and vertical, which are the ones that you see right over here for the primary, and that for the y. Now if I click on minor, what do we have? We have more for our y and we have more for our x. So this is really fantastic to have these incorporated in here, and this gives you that original grade paper that you get when you're in school. So this is really fantastic to have. Now legend, we can have these, but we're going to dive into legend very soon. Trendline. Trendline is really fantastic because this tells you what are the points that best fit. So the line that touches majority of the point is the one that will give us the pattern that is going in terms of the relation. So if I click on Trendline, we actually have this going on, and we can actually build on this by creating a potential linear or quadratic relation, or what is a relation that these particular points provide. And so once we have this created, we can take note, change the color. Just to highlight this, to change the color, all you have to do is right click on the line. You're going to see that highlighted here, and once you click on outcome, you can pick the color that you want. Now the next part here is to be able to title our not only y-axis but also the x-axis. So our y-axis is required to be called position. Make sure you have the units written now or typed up, and the next one here is for your x-axis. All you have to do is type what it is, and this is measured time in seconds, and that is it. For our chart title, you can write position time graph for a moving object. And so once you have that, you are technically done with the main description of our graph. The final step here is to show the equation that best represents this particular trend line, and to do that, our yellow or orange line, all we have to do is click on that line, and once you click on it, you're going to see that particular blue transparent dot at the ends of that line. And once you see that, you right click, and the drop down menu, you click on format trend line, and once you click on that, you're going to see a couple of things that shows you what are the required pattern that matches this particular trend line. And we see that it shows that yes, it is more linear than the other patterns that we see right here. If you click on exponential, this is how it looks like, as you see in terms of this curve. This changes if you click on logarithm, but it says here that some trend lines can't be calculated from data containing negative or zero values, so this is not really required. So once you click on OK, we can continue to move back to how it was prior to your trend line. So what we do is click on this, show trend line or add trend line, and once you do that, we shows you what it is recommended right here. So we're going to stick in here with linear relation, and once you click on linear relation, what we do next is to display our equation on the chart. Once you click on that, we have our equation, and this equation here shows you that there is a relationship between the y, which is our position, and our x, which is time. And so our slope of this trend line is equal to 1.45 meters per second, which represents velocity, as you see. So this is really fantastic. Also, in terms of what this number represents, 10.2, this represents the intercept, the y-intercept, where the trend line actually touches the y-axis, not the actual blue line that you see from the table of values. So you can see how that is quite different. We see that while that blue line shows that the y-intercept is at 10, the trend line gives you a different result. And so that is really fascinating to see in this particular analysis right here. And finally, display the R squared shows you the percent of this particular trend line relative to what we have in our table of values, which shows you that it is between 0 and 1. 1 means that it is 100%, while 0 means that 0%. So therefore, this here is kind of like 97.79, close to the relationship between the blue line and the trend line, which is the oil line. So the next question is this: how are we going to remove the blue line that connects the blue dots together? To accomplish this, all we have to do is click on any part of the blue line that is of interest once. Once you click on this, we are going to highlight all the dots that is shown. Take note that if one dot is shown, it's impossible to accomplish this. So once you have this done, what we have to do is go to format, and once we go to format, we're going to have a couple of things that may be of great importance in terms of how to navigate through this. What we click on is format selection, and so once you click on format selection, what we do is look for the part that addresses line and marker. But for the purpose of this part, we're going to highlight the line part, and once you click on the line section, we click on no line, and that line disappears from your graph. So this is how you're able to remove lines from points that are connected, just to show only the trend line that is of interest. And this is how it is done. I hope you found this really informative in terms of producing this particular nice looking graph. You can actually copy this graph and paste it in your whatever form that you want to record it and share it with, so you can put it in your lab notes or your specific newspaper that you want to share with other people, or journals. And this is really fantastic to see. Hope you have found this really informative. Please hit a comment down below. Let me hear your thoughts about this. By that way, I can talk to you soon. Stay smart as always, and believe in yourselves.